Ricciardo is now set to return to Red Bull, the team that gave him his big Formula One break in 2014 and propelled him to 7 of those 8 victories, plus 2 top 3 finishes in the World Championship in 2014 and 2016. What's the reason behind this move? Stay tuned to find out. Daniel Ricciardo, an 8-time race winner and one of the biggest names in the sport, will not be on the grid next season after having his McLaren deal terminated during the summer. However, a deal to keep him involved in Formula One in some capacity is about to be finalised. Ricciardo was linked with several seats at the back of the grid, but indicated he would prefer to join a top team as a reserve driver with a view to returning in a more competitive car in 2024. Recent speculation in the paddock claimed that Daniel Ricciardo could join Mercedes, but it appears that Red Bull has pounced on the opportunity to sign Ricciardo, confirmed by Red Bull bosses, and now Ricciardo, the Australian, would be rejoining his former team as a third driver. Ricciardo's responsibilities will likely include show runs, other marketing endeavours, and simulator work for certain races. Marko, a Red Bull advisor, stated, "Ricciardo will be our third driver. We have so many sponsors, we have to do show runs, so of course he's one of the most high profile and best suited." Marko stated in the same interview that Red Bull's reserve driver would be Lawson. Lawson drove for Red Bull in the first practice session for the last Grand Prix of the season in Abu Dhabi. As a result, Ricciardo's job could be that of a development driver. This would not be the first time Ricciardo has had a reserve role in Formula One. In 2011, he was the reserve driver for Toro Rosso before he made his debut in a race with HRT in the middle of the season, and then drove for Toro Rosso in 2012. But back then, Ricciardo drove in every single FP1 session for Toro Rosso before he joined HRT from the British GP onwards. Ricciardo's decision to return to Red Bull comes as a surprise, considering that despite the dearth of seats available, he could have landed a seat should he have wished it. However, Ricciardo, who is now 33 years old, is welcoming a chance to reset. At the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Ricciardo stated, "I knew that I wanted some time off next year from a race seat and just from competition. It's obviously been pretty tiring for the last couple of years with the struggles, so it was pretty clear to me shortly after the summer break that that was what I wanted and what was going to be best for me. So then it was, okay, what's the next best thing? And the more I thought about it, to be obviously involved to some degree with the top team, that was obviously the preference." Ricciardo reckoned that taking some time off from the pressure of a racing season would give him a better opportunity to determine whether he still wanted to compete in the sport in 2024. When asked what would happen if he reached the middle of next year and decided that he didn't want to make a comeback, he said, "Then that's my answer. Honestly, I think that's also in a way the beauty with this. It'll either fuel the fire and make me hungry and more motivated than ever, or it will actually be like, oh, this is the right thing for you. And in that case, then I must be really happy. Because as much as you go through highs and lows of racing, I'm still very happy with life, and I'm privileged to live a good one. So if next year I'm not interested in coming back, then I must be doing some really cool shit." You're enjoying this video, right? You definitely don't want to miss out on other amazing videos. So all you have to do is hit the subscription button. It's that easy. Thanks for doing that. Let's move on. Ricciardo has been a part of the Formula One racing scene since 2011. And he recently suggested that because the sport is about to embark on its most extensive schedule in its history, and in light of the fact that he is coming off 2 challenging seasons, there is a possibility that he will not perform to the best of his ability if he does take a race seat with another team. He said last season was already quite difficult, but this season was more difficult again. So then the more time that passed, the more I felt like, as much as I love it, I want to make sure that I'm doing it at my highest level, and with, let's say, the freshest approach possible. Looking at next year, it's 24 races. It's more and more demanding this season. So as much as I love it, I think if I get jumped back into another situation, I might just not be the best version of myself. That's why the more I thought about it, the more I was like, to jump back in and let's say rush it, just to be racing, probably doesn't do myself justice, or whichever team perhaps I would race for. If Ricciardo rejoins Red Bull, the question of whether or not he has a shot at a racing seat for the team in the not too distant future will be raised. However, it appears that there is no availability until the 2025 season. Replacing double world champion Max Verstappen is a no-go because Verstappen has a valid contract until the end of 2028. And while internal tensions have recently surfaced over Sergio Perez allegedly crashing deliberately during qualifying for Monaco, leading to a team orders row in Brazil last Sunday, Perez did sign a contract extension to the end of 2024 earlier this year. That being the case, the only way for Ricciardo to return to racing for the team he left at the end of 2018 to drive for Renault would be either Max Verstappen or Sergio Perez to quit, either by choice or mutual agreement. However, Horner talked down the possibility of Ricciardo returning to a race seat with Red Bull, putting his faith in their present driver lineup of Verstappen and Perez as the outfit attempted to move on from the controversy surrounding the team at the Sao Paulo GP. Horner said, "No, Daniel's contract is very specific for a very specific reason. We have a contract with Checo for the next 2 years." When asked if Ricciardo could become an option for promotion in the longer term, what the partnership of Max and Checo has produced has been phenomenal for us. The 5 1-2 finishes so far this year, the Constructors' Championship that we hadn't won for 8 years, is a phenomenal achievement, and obviously the combination of both drivers' points contributions. The two drivers, they do have a good relationship, they've raced well for the team, and we've got no reason to see that being any different tomorrow, or for the duration of their contractual commitment to the team thereafter. In the event that Red Bull's relationship with Sergio Perez deteriorates over the course of the next season, he will be in an ideal position to come in and fill the void. If that is the case, he will return with a team still likely to be running at the front end of the pack, regardless of its wind tunnel penalty from its 2021 budget cap breach. Beyond Red Bull, it is hard to see an obvious route back to racing. Mercedes and Ferrari look likely to be set with their current lineups beyond 2024, while moves back to McLaren and Alpine seem unlikely. However, it is difficult to predict the driver market 12 months out, and it might be that some things open up in a way we can't imagine now. Another reason why Ricciardo chose Red Bull over Mercedes is because of the offers that both teams placed on the table. The offer that was on the table for Ricciardo from Mercedes was more of a full-on reserve role. However, Red Bull's deal allows him to be loosely associated with an F1 team next year without committing himself to too many visits to the paddock in a reserve capacity. Although it seems likely that he will take on some media commitments in 2023, he is hesitant to fully embrace the role of pundit or on-screen personality out of fear that it will cement people's belief that he is done with F1, and that could affect his chances of returning back to the grid in 2024. He has said on numerous occasions he intends to return with a vengeance in 2 years. It is why there have been no genuine links with IndyCar or NASCAR teams, as he does not want to race anywhere else full-time right now. Ricciardo will undoubtedly have one thing on his mind, and that is the coming of Audi in 2026. The German manufacturer has high aspirations of being immediately competitive under the new regulations for Formula One, and will be looking to start their team with a well-known superstar driver. Ricciardo could be Audi's guy once they are on the grid. However, he will likely need to have raced somewhere between the years 2024 and 2025 in order to be considered for the position. Ricciardo finished his final race for McLaren in the points, crossing the line P9 as he held off the retiring Sebastian Vettel throughout the closing stages. Ricciardo finishes this season 11th in the F1 standings. What's your thought about Ricciardo's return to Red Bull? Do you see him replacing Perez in 2024? Let me know in the comment section below. That will be all for today's video. Thanks for staying tuned. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you can always get to watch more amazing videos like this. See you in the next video.